Welcome to the In Shape Fitness Show. I'm Coach Kim. Today's podcast is called For the Love of Manual Labor. We're going to be talking today about the merits of something Americans don't do all that much anymore. Humans traditionally, Americans in particular, have taken pride in the ability to abstain from manual labor. With the funds, the money to do so, Americans like to outsource things like cleaning their homes, lawn tending, mowing the lawn, pulling weeds, that kind of stuff, moving, housework, laundry, even taking care of kids. Manual labor has diminished across the board, and even with younger people. Because extra time that we have in our day, not that there's much of it, but the extra time that we have is almost always now spent connected to someone or something via electronic devices. So I love moving around. You know that I do. I talk about this endlessly, which is good because, of course, you also know that I hate the gym. I'm a personal trainer and I really just don't like exercise very much. But I am going to talk today about how short bursts of movement, yes, exercise, performed generally every day, can set up the day to feel good about those manual tasks that will keep us grounded and keep us healthy as we age in particular. One of the things that happens in my line of work is that I tend to see a lot of people, mostly affluent people, because of the work that I do for a living in New York City. I do tend to work with busy professionals, in Manhattan that wouldn't go to the gym otherwise, even people that have gyms in their own buildings. They tend to bring me in to essentially motivate them to do some form of exercise. But what I find is that they are developing symptoms of a sedentary life earlier and earlier, developing things like aches and pains in certain parts of their body. I know very few clients, for example, that haven't complained to me about having a back issue, neck/back issue at some point in the period of time that I see them over maybe the course of about a year. I'm one of the only people I know, in fact, that I have no limits in terms of the things that I do, with the exception of financial limits, because I can't go and jump out of a plane or go do, some sort of crazy climbing adventure from faraway countries. But I don't have any functional physical limits, and I don't experience any pain unless I'm in the middle of marathon season and I might have some hip or leg soreness after a long run. But my clients almost all have some form of back / as I said before, neck pain associated with the wake up in the morning period of time before you start moving, and that tightness, the dormancy, this sort of stasis that develops while you sleep. Even though sleep is the most restorative period of time in your day, it is also the time when things settle. And so building back that momentum with fluid exchange, with cellular activity that moves things around and loosens things up a little bit is something that most of my clients experience. So that is one of the reasons why in almost all of my work with clients and via these podcasts, I talk almost regularly about the need to develop a regimen that you do first thing in the morning, and it can be really short. My own personal regimen is 10 to 15 minutes, depending on what other things that might be going on in terms of, what time my kid wakes up or, other activities that I might have to deal with in the morning. But I try to get started every single morning, and I do this in my pajamas. I roll out of the bed and I proceed to a spot in my living room where I do a short routine of exercises. And it's really, really simple stuff. It's nothing crazy, right? I do push-ups every day. I do jumping jacks every day. I do squats every day. I do this crazy business of spinning around 21 times because the Tibetan monks do it, and I figure it's a really fun way for me to feel like a kid still, and I love that experience of feeling a little bit dizzy. But all this leads back to the sort of notion that manual labor, which is the subject of the podcast, is something that's bad for you, that it diminishes your standing as a human being if you, for example, have to clean your own home, or if you have to, do your own laundry, or mow your own grass, or pull your own weeds, assuming you have weeds to pull in a yard, which a lot of people don't. In fact, in New York City, I do not have this, though I have a garden that I tend with my daughter on a street block. Lots of community gardens exist in urban areas these days, and it's a really good way to get, sort of commune with the earth, if you will, for lots of different reasons, which I won't go into. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and I want to start out by talking a little bit about blue zones. And I think I've mentioned this a few times in our podcast, but blue zones have been named by the National Geographic Society. I like talking about them because it is well in line, and I write about this in my book, Darwin on the Treadmill. Just a quick little pitch, which isn't out yet. I've been putting finishing touches on the post-editor, edits my own finishing touches on it. So hopefully it'll be going to press soon and out later in 2019. I write about blue zones in this book because I don't like the gym, and you shouldn't like the gym either. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't do the things that help prevent you from having to go to the gym, but the gym itself is not a sustainable way to achieve your goals. And people have different goals, but essentially we all want to be alive. We all want to be alive without pain and suffering. And then take it one step further and think about how we all want all of those things, and to be alive without pain and suffering, without medical interventions. So we've sort of taken our society, and I just talking about the United States here because I know it best, the sort of perspective that if we have a problem, the medical solution is okay, it's fine. And in some cases, obviously, the medical technology that's been developed over the last 150 years is miraculous. I mean, the invention of antibiotics and the sort of subcellular understanding of things related to cancer treatments and to heart disease, etc. All those things are fascinating and wonderful, but we don't have a sustainable plan when we Twitter along, we hang out on our devices along and work at our desks all day long, from bed to desk to dinner to bed, essentially, which is the physical life of many, many people. When things pop up, and they're going to, because the human body isn't meant to be sedentary, those life conditions require either a change in the lifestyle, or what most Americans have turned to is medical intervention. So multiple medications, multiple medical interventions that are chemically based or somehow related to the purchase of a consumer solution, and it's not sustainable. It's just not working, first of all, but it's also not sustainable. So blue zones, back to that point, blue zones are pretty amazing. There are only 7, I think, of them, maybe 8, that have been recognized as official locations around the world, only 1 in the United States. And the reason that the National Geographic Society, in part at least, announced what they were and have talked about them is because these are not locations where people exercise willfully pretty much at all. They don't really spend time going to the gym, going to boot camps, going to spin classes, going to yoga classes, though they may do yoga, in fact, flexibility work as a whole is something that is really critical to your body's overall ability to function well without pain and suffering and without medical interventions. However, they don't go into a studio twice a week to get that, Ashtanga class in or the Bikram class in or whatever. These are locations around the world where people live naturally, on average 10 years longer than the national average within their own countries, without willful exercise and without a great deal of medical intervention. Now, how do they do that? And that is why I'm talking about manual labor today. Not the least of which is also that I just happen to be not actually in New York City this week, but in Virginia, where as a kid, I grew up in Virginia. As you know from following these podcasts over the years, I have lived for the last 24 years in Manhattan, in New York City, the heart of New York City. But I grew up in Southern Virginia near the Chesapeake Bay, and right after undergraduate school, I bought a little cottage, just a tiny little place, walking distance from the Chesapeake Bay beach, in a place called Buckrow. And I own it still, and I have friends and sometimes rent it out or whatever. But anyway, I'm here because I have a season of people coming in soon, and there are weeds growing everywhere. I have monster issues related to an old roof on my garage and cleaning the gutters, and I painted trim, and of course the regular stuff like sweeping and cleaning and doing the laundry and just making things organized or whatever for the coming warm season. So I've been doing a lot of manual labor, and I absolutely love it. I think it's super fun, and it harkens back to a part of my book that I write about in relation to one of the functional priorities that InShape Fitness has been programming around 8 key functional priorities. And this is the main sort of chunk of Darwin on the Treadmill, the book, because I don't train people to train their muscle groups. I'm not build your biceps, tighten your tushy, get 6-pack abs kind of trainer. I never have been, and I really don't like that mantra or that sort of idea of goal setting, because you can sculpt your body in certain ways if you're younger and you have a great deal of discipline in terms of what you eat and how often you exercise certain muscles. But back again to the very beginning of this podcast, most people aren't out for that. Most people want to function in their lives. They want to enjoy their lives. Presumably, they don't want to take have pharmaceutical interventions, medical interventions in terms of living their lives without pain and suffering. That what they'd like to do is to wake up, yes, maybe feel sleepy and not want to get up because you don't want to go to work, but you get up anyway, you do a little bit of physical movement, and you carry on your day with some sense of agency and joy. And so when I write about everything having to do with the upper body, so shoulders and biceps and, all the other parts of the upper body, your neck and your head and your back and your chest. I write about them in relation to a concept that I just call PPHC. And then there's a sort of an intersection with another priority that really just pertains to reaching for things and the loss of balance, and how reaching for things can be so incredibly risky for people as they get older. But PPHC simply stands for pushing, pulling, holding, and carrying things. And I've done all of that this week. I have pushed a manual lawnmower, and I don't mean manual with a motor. I mean manual with a series of 4 or 5 blades, whatever it is, on an axis with, from Mad Men, Don Draper pushing that manual lawnmower, which I own one, and I think it's hilarious because I love it. It's such a workout. Carrying bags of mulch, to pulling on ropes and pulling on limbs to get them down from trees, to carrying the lawnmower, but carrying also the ladder to be able to get up on the roof and clean the gutters, etc. So all of those things I've been working on today. That's why I wanted to talk about manual labor today, because I've just been immersed in it the whole week. And spring break is ending for my daughter, who's in the public school system in New York City. So we're headed back to New York in a couple of days. But the essence of everything related to manual labor, to pushing and pulling and carrying and holding things, is trunk stability related. So a couple of weeks ago, and I think last week as well, we talked about the push-up, that Harvard study related to the cardiovascular benefits of being able to do 40 push-ups. And I write about how beneficial push-ups are to a regular regimen, and push-ups are one of the exercises that I do every single day. Though I didn't do them this morning, I have to say, but that was because I carried 40 pounds of mulch like 40 times yesterday. So I took a day off from my push-ups today. But push-ups are one of the exercises in this class of priorities for functional fitness that we talk about, because they are so incredibly beneficial. Now, if you forget about the hatred of push-ups, because pretty much you say the word push-ups, the two words push-ups, and I get a grimacey look on most people's faces. However, the reason that push-ups are so beneficial in large part has to do with the fact that they are a position in plank. They're moving the body within the plank position. And that is trunk stability 101. The plank is something that you should be able to do, and you should be able to do it for a minute at least, in order not just to look good, but for the stability of all of the tissues that exist between your shoulders and your groin area. So hips, butt, abs, back, your chest, and even the back of the neck and up into your head, because we've talked about the head as a ballast of your body because of its weight and because of the spindly nature of your neck. But because obviously the neck is part of the spine, which is situated in your trunk, you can include the neck in terms of the stability that you want to be able to maintain, again, for functional efficacy, if you will, or functional life. So when you are interested in doing things manually, and let's just forget all the work stuff for a second. So forget, pushing a lawnmower or doing the laundry or cleaning your house. Let's talk about things like swinging a golf club, maybe playing some tennis, playing with your kids, running around, maybe in a playground with your kids if they're younger, or your grandkids. Those are components of an enjoyable life in terms of recreation that are going to require stability through your trunk. And that is one of the reasons why I enjoy doing all of the manual labor things that I have to do as a homeowner, because I then am able to do things like climb a tree with my 9-year-old, who loves just, if she sees a tree and she can put her foot on the bottom branch and get up into the trunk, she's going to do it. And I like the idea of being able to do it with her. If she is, let's see, I'm trying to think of another good example. If she wants to, go to the beach and dig a giant hole in the sand and build, a moat and a sandcastle, that takes some effort, and I want to be able to do those things with her. Those are enjoyable parts of manual labor, if you will, that really demand the stability of all those tissues in the middle part of your body. So we're talking about your rib cage. We're talking about the muscles that connect your ribs together, the obliques, the side muscles, the front, the back, your hips, your butt, as I said before, the fascia as well, the sort of soft tissue that overlaps all of the muscle tissues and your skeleton before the skin. All of those components work together when you are in a plank to maintain the stability of the middle part of your body so that your limbs can do the things that they want to do. And whether it's climbing trees or pushing a lawnmower or whatever it is. So plank is a really significant exercise that you have to be able to do and the barometer is about a minute. Most experts have used that term. For my older clients, I tend to do 30-second intervals for plank. Another exercise that's really, really important is the hip bridge. So I'm going to leave you with only these two exercises today because I don't want to overburden you with the notion of doing exercises for exercise regimens. Go to the AM Muscle Maintenance podcast show, which is almost always a regular workout in podcast form. And of course, you can get in touch with me through bodybynshape.com, our website, or through here or social media to find me if you have questions about other exercises that you can do. But a plank and a hip bridge are the two exercises that may help you maintain your stability through the trunk and via the soft tissues that I talked about with respect to your ability to foster, maintain, enjoy manual labor, regardless of what it is. So I'm Coach Kim from InShape Fitness, and I appreciate your listening in today. I will be back next week with another new episode of the InShape Fitness Show. Have a great day.